Go ahead.
For my 20% project, I researched how flooring affects injuries in ballet and Bharatanatyam. So, what is ballet? Ballet is a Western classical dance form, and it encounters leaps, jumps, and an important technique called point. And point is where the dancer balances on the tips of their toes. The other type of dance form is Bharatanatyam. So Bharatanatyam, many of you might not have heard about this, but it's a South Indian classical dance form. And the style is marked by the plie position. It's also known as the half-sitting posture, or the technical term would be Aramandi. And Bharatanatyam has intricate footwork, facial expressions, and hand gestures to communicate Indian literature. And much of the songs are done in the plie position with intricate footwork, as I said before, but this is done with stamping. And stamping is important so that you can hear the beat that you're dancing to and sync it with the song's beat. So I have a small snippet from my performance with my friend at the Hanover Theater a couple of weeks ago. So, as you might have seen, much of that dance was done in the plie position, and there was stamping. So, why is flooring important? Well, flooring is important because it reduces the risk of injuries. Flooring, much of the impact that's on the flooring should not be absorbed by your knees because that can cause serious injuries, and energy directed back from the floor immediately can cause serious injuries. So to test out different types of flooring to figure out which one would be the most absorbent, I decided to do an experiment. And the types of flooring I tested were vinyl, tile, hardwood, carpet, and concrete. So this was my experimental setup. Basically what I did was I had balls, which I dropped from 6 feet. I stood on the stool and rested the ruler on top of the stool, and the ruler was 4 feet, and the stool was 2 feet, so I was at 6 feet high. And I dropped the ball, and I videotaped the me dropping the ball so that I could go back and see how high the rebound was from looking at the ruler and seeing the peak of the ball. And so my findings were that carpet was the most absorbent. However, carpet, most people wouldn't dance on carpet because 1, it's not very resilient, and 2, it's not a smooth surface, so dancers can trip and fall, which will create unnecessary injuries. And so second from carpet would be oak, which was the wood that I tried. And this was proven to be the most absorbent other than carpet. And I did 3 drops and then took the average of them, which you can see in my chart below. So after finding out that wooden floors would be the best, I decided that I wanted to validate which type of wooden floor would be the best for dance studios. I went to Lumber Liquidators, which is a hardwood store, and I got 5 types of wood: engineered maple, engineered bamboo, oak, Brazilian cherry, and maple. The difference between engineered wood and regular wood is engineered wood has different sheets, so it's sandwiched between a regular piece of wood and plywood or particle board. Plywood is known to be resilient and also absorbent. So the worker at Lumber Liquidators told me that engineered woods is what most people buy for their dance studios. I did the same ball test on these different woods. I did it once with the woods on concrete and once with the woods on a dance pad that I also got from Lumber Liquidators. So on the right, what you can see is the results of it with the dance padding underneath, and on the left, the results with the concrete. And obviously with the concrete, it would bounce higher just because of the fact that concrete is not absorbent at all and it's set on top, whereas the dance padding is meant to absorb all the force that it gets, so the results would be less. So how does this relate to injuries? Well, there is an important tissue called cartilage, and it is a flexible connective tissue. It's the shock absorber of our body, and it protects bone-to-bone contact. So in Bharatanatyam, what happens is we're in the plie position, and a common injury is chondromalacia patella, which is runner's knee. What happens here is the articular cartilage behind the kneecap over time gets overused and gets worn out, and what it results in is the kneecap constantly rubbing against the femur bone, which is extremely painful. I suffer from this. I actually have this, and I found this out last year. I sing also, and I had a 4-hour concert, which required me to sit cross-legged for 4 hours. And since I have this, it was really, really, really painful for me. And what I noticed is if I danced before sitting down for 4 hours, it was much more painful without me actually dancing before. And as a person who suffers from this, for me, it isn't as bad, but there are many people who have a worse condition of this runner's knee, and it's a chronic pain, and it happens all the time due to hyperflexion, which is the bending of the knee. So some symptoms, obviously, is just constant pain while going up and down stairs or sitting down. They can't sit as long as regular people could without the runner's knee. And treatments for this would be just resting it and also doing physical therapy. Physical therapy, usually people who have a more serious injury of the runner's knee, they would go to physical therapy. But I tended to rest it for 3 to 4 days and it would get better. The other type is osteoarthritis, and this is where the articular cartilage from the femur and the meniscus cartilage of the tibia, which is basically the thigh bone and the shin bone, what happens is those cartilage start to break down. And this doesn't actually happen to younger dancers, and this happens more towards when they get older and start dancing in their older ages. And this, what happens here is there's stiff joints, and the tibia starts rubbing against the femur. Again, this is very painful, and this treatments for this would also be physical therapy and resting. So injuries from point. This is very different from injuries from Armandi. Point is basically where they are standing on the tips of their feet. And as I said before, for Bharatanatyam, osteoarthritis in the knee is common for point as well. But here they have metatarsal stress fractures. And this is very different. This is not something you get because of Armandi. All their weight is concentrated on their metatarsals and their tibia, and over time that stress, the stress that they're inducing on those bones, result in fractures. And many people, many times, they don't notice they have these fractures, and over time a lump starts getting created because it's trying to repair while the dancer is still going through all the strenuous point work. And they notice that it's starting to hurt, and then they get it checked out and diagnosed with the stress fracture. So overall from this project, what I've learned is how flooring affects injuries in general. This can be applied to any sport. Sports are very strenuous and are hard on knees and our legs. And so having different types of flooring specific to the sport you're playing, can help reduce injuries. And for me, since I've been doing Bharatanatyam for the past 10 years, and I'm very into it, my mom teaches my dance school, and I've been learning from her. Important things and things to watch out for, especially when kids are learning from the young age. They shouldn't be learning wrong techniques on bad floors, which can result in really bad injuries over time. Thank you.